Just get through the day, really. Get myself set right.
Miss Genius. Levi's charming and she's...
I don't know what's scarier.
I don't know either. I mean, Levi's exceptional. Exceptional. But he's exceptional. So
She's not just saying that.
no, I really people used to, well, they still kind of do stop.
Yeah.
I'm just... I'm mommy's mommy. Mommy's mommy. The other mommy. No, we're getting puppies tomorrow. Maybe we should go get them today. Yeah. Yeah.
You're getting two.
I'm getting one and she's
A little while ago. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
yeah, because it's a young dog. It's just... She just got it where Lucy was because she was only 3 years. Just calm down a bit.
Assuming that you've got a lot of stuff to carry with you,
Right
you should
off.
do that.
If she did, maybe she'd come back again. Yeah. And all the money.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get the day underway because we've got a huge schedule to work through. I'll introduce myself. I'm Robyn Latimer. I'm the President of the Tourette Syndrome Association of Australia, and I'm really, really pleased to bring the conference to Perth today. It's been 10 years since we were here. I was in this room 10 years ago, and that was the first ever conference we'd held in Perth. I'd like to start this morning by acknowledgement of country. So before we begin the proceedings, I'd like to pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land onto which we meet, the Noongar people. I'd like to pay respects to the elders, past, present and emerging. And as we share our knowledge, teaching, learning and our practices today, we may pay respect to the knowledge, history and story far beyond the 230 years in the future journey of our country together. So this morning we've got a few things to to work through. It's a little bit difficult through all these cables to get to everything. I'll just move around. So essentially this morning I wanted to start by just finding out everyone here, amongst the group here, because it really helps the other speakers as they're giving their delivery, who here would be a medical professional or an allied health professional? We've got a few hands, that's fantastic, thank you very much. Is there anyone here who would be from an education perspective? Lovely, fantastic, thank you. And I imagine the other people are here from what I would class as a family or individual perspective. Thank you very much. So this is our 14th conference, and it marks a very auspicious occasion because this is the Tourette Syndrome Association of Australia's 30-year anniversary, which is a huge achievement for a not-for-profit like us. We're self-funded and we're run by volunteers. So 30 years of continuous support for people and advocacy for Tourette syndrome. I really think we need to celebrate today. In terms of housekeeping, we've got the bathrooms straight out the door here, easy to find. We've got the tea and coffee facilities will be out the back there. And then some of you have already found we have a resource table here, a lot of which has already been snapped up. But if anybody would like things that are not available today, we can obviously post to you. That's not a problem. I'd also like just to mention a couple of key people in the room, because throughout the day you might like to know who they are to approach them. I'd like to, I can see Maron going, oh no. Maron in the back, waving in the corner. Maron is a committee member that's flown over from Sydney. She's a new committee member this year and we're very grateful to have her on board. And her daughter Hannah is helping us out as well. And we have Annie Dixon at the doorway, and she'll be talking to you in a little bit about support groups. She's the National Support Group Coordinator. We have Lydia Roberts in the front, who's very important because she is our local representative. Lydia runs the Perth support group here today. And I'd like to also acknowledge and thank Camilla, a local support group member who came this morning to help us with the setup. It's really helpful to have people on the ground when you're organising these things from afar. So who are the TSAAA? I just would like to spend a little bit of time to talk about who we are with you all, because a lot of people don't know. They think that we're some huge machine, we've got lots of money, we've got people full-time employed and so on. So how we're made up in 2019 is 10 committee members, which is the maximum we can have under our constitution, so it's really wonderful to have a full committee. And for the first time we've got committee members that are from other states. It's because we're Sydney based, you know, I know that we're Sydney centric, and so we're trying to break out of that, and we now have committee members from Queensland and Tasmania that have joined, and we have our meetings via webinar so they can all join live. We have 2 part-time personnel, Rosita Suna, who is our Director of Marketing and Development, and Misuk Pelsman, who is our Office Coordinator. We have 2 medical advisors, Professor Sachdev, who is the head of neuropsychiatric centre at Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney, and Professor Valsama Eapen, who works out of Liverpool Hospital. Both are teaching professors and work through the University of New South Wales as well. We have 1 patron who is Chris Cruther, member for Dunkley until the last election, but he's still our patron, and we're very grateful for him because he was the first person to take Tourette syndrome to Parliament and announced his support for us and established a parliamentary friendship group for Tourette syndrome back in 2015, which entitles us to have an event in Parliament House every year, which we do in October. We have 2 ambassadors. We've got an exciting announcement today. Our first ever ambassador was Adam Liddell, and I'll be showing you revealing who our second ambassador is in a few moments. We've had over 12 spokespeople that work for us throughout our campaigns, and it really does help to have people who put their hand up to be a spokesperson in your region. When we get contacted by media or people wanting to do a story on Tourette's, they want someone local for where they're representing. So, you know, they're not interested in just hearing from us in Sydney all the time if it's about a story to go in a paper in Broome, for instance. We've got an army of 53 wonderful volunteers across many, many roles: phone volunteers, support group volunteers, people that help us with the email. There's quite a number of volunteer roles. We have 33 support groups and mentors, which Annie will go into more detail of. We've currently got, I think it's over 500 members. I didn't actually update that slide, but when we talk about our membership, it's really important to realise that one membership could be an entire school. One membership is a doctor's surgery. One membership is an entire family. So that number is you know, much, much larger than just the numbers that give us a membership fee. And then our statistics are really important. It's 1 in 100 children, and we say the percentage we use through our medical advisors' advice is 1 in 200 adults. And then the other stats that are really important is that 6 in 7 people have some other mental, behavioural or development disorder, and we'll talk more about that in depth today. And I'll also talk about the quality of life score, which was from research in 2016, that for me is so powerful and supports our campaign. Then this shows you what our activities are and what we do throughout the year. We really try to disperse our activities throughout the 12-month period to make it manageable for us, as well as ensure that it fits in with the time frame for wherever that activity needs to be. So we now have camps in a number of states. South Australia is in January. We had our summit meeting with the committee in February, and I ran a tactics event in February in Melbourne, which is what sparked our campaign this year. Our newsletters, then the New South Wales camp, our awareness week in May. As you can see, May is packed. It's a super month. We launched our tactics campaign. We had another event in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales for the 3rd year running called the Picnic Ride for Tourette's Syndrome, which is a motorbike ride, and they raise funds. We had Rosita Suna represent us at the European Tourette's Syndrome Symposium in May. I created a podcast with the Federal Department of Education with a teacher, a parent and a 10-year-old boy who has Tourette's, so that will hopefully be released through the Department of Education nationally. And Miron represented us at the APON conference, which was a first this year, which I'm trying to remember what it's Australian Patient Organisation Network, and it was established by Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt, and we're trying to get all these different organisations like us to come together and work together to streamline our activities and learn and benefit and leverage from one another. The National Conference in Perth today is in June, and my spelling there for the annual Social Picnic Day is tomorrow. Annie will talk more about that. So anyone here today is welcome to come to our picnic day that is now going to be in a gymnasium because of the weather. I've put in there seeking volunteers for a Western Australian camp. We would like to have a camp here in WA. We have a camp in you'll see in September in Queensland, in Victoria in October, and we've got one starting for the Northern Territory this year, which was to be in July, that's been postponed. I'm not actually sure. November, thank you. So have a look on there, and if you can see a good space in our diary and someone here would like to get involved with establishing a camp in Perth, the association would definitely, we have a hand up over there, would definitely love to support you. What else is key? We have the Parliamentary Friendship Group I've talked about. The Nielsen Golf Day is in Queensland, and one of our members has done that now the 2nd year running. Last year they raised $25,000, which was a huge support for us and helped us do our campaign this year. And this year they're hoping to get $30,000. Then we have our annual general meeting, Christmas party. And yeah, so it's just this cycle that goes around. It's very busy. There's a lot of events and we reach a lot of people. So I'll mention a little bit about our campaign for this year. It was a two-pronged campaign and it's two parts. So Tactics is actually an app. It's a game that students play on an app, and it came from, to give you a little bit of a background, I work at in a design faculty at a university, and I gave a live brief to the students and I asked them to come up with a solution, and I literally asked them to beam us in to the classrooms of school children around Australia, leveraging technology, given that we are self-funded, we have limited capacity as people to go and do school talks. I used to do a lot of school talks, but I can't go. I actually got a phone call to do a school talk in Broome, and I live in Sydney, so the reality of that is not great. So this was a way to try and get around it. So this is a peer-to-peer program, and it's aimed at establishing empathy amongst all the children about difference. And they learn so much more than just about Tourette's through doing this program. Now, the spin-off of this is that my work offered for me to run a Here for Good session at our Leadership Summit in Melbourne in February. And I went, yay, yes, I'll do it. This is fantastic for the Tourette's Association to have coverage. I had an audience of leaders from Australia and New Zealand of over 220 people, but I had nothing. So I went, what will I do? So I went back to this student project and I said, I can convert this into a corporate event. And that's what we did. And it's gamified. So for students in the playground, it's gamified where they get points when they get answer challenges and riddles and find locations. And then for the corporates, they get points, and those points equate to dollars for us. So then it became monified for us. And that particular event raised over $12,700 with that one corporate person. So now we've created a corporate version that people can take to companies if they want to do a corporate responsibility team bonding event that many like to do with real purpose. It's got a lot to offer, and the feedback from the corporates that did it was incredible. This summit was a 3-day summit that they attended, and for every single person they did a survey, this was the highlight of that 3-day summit. They loved it. It's also available to people within our community who have Tourette's and would like to run it within their place of employment, because it's also a wonderful opportunity to share with your employees and your experience with Tourette's as adults. Now, the campaign this year, we had huge coverage. We had over 327 pieces of media in Awareness Week, and our coverage reach was over 25.6 million, which is enormous for us. To put that in perspective, last year was our best ever at 18 million. The year before that was 5.6 million. And last year of that 18 million, over 5 million was through social. This was all quality, like when I say it wasn't just someone liking or ticking something on social media, this was all being in articles, newspapers, TV, and an enormous amount of radio. This is our new ambassador, signing yesterday with the lovely Rosita. She looks pretty happy with herself. James Sayers, aka Ninja Warrior. You might have seen James last year on the Ninja Warrior TV show on Channel 9. It's the one where they have to do all the obstacles and climb up the big wall called Mount Fuji Yama, which I always found hilarious because Yama means mountain. So it's Mount Fuji Mountain. And I've noticed this year they've stopped saying it twice. They've realised after a year of saying it. And James is on it again this year. Spoiler alert, but watch it and support him. So it's really wonderful to have James on board. He goes to our camps. He's gone to our Queensland camp, I think 1 year or maybe 2 years. He's going again this year. The children absolutely love him. He works with children as a volunteer in gymnastic coaching as well. So he's just brilliant with kids, and he's a really great ambassador and keeps everybody super happy. So